I was incredibly sad the other day to learn that Nigel Lawson, Lord Lawson of Blamey, had actually passed away at the age of 91. A grand old age, but still it came as a complete shock because this man had been such a titan. I had the pleasure of meeting him in 2017 to actually discuss Brexit, an issue which he had changed his mind on. Let's not forget that Nigel Lawson was a staunch advocate of taking Britain into the exchange rate mechanism, which bound us to the then Deutschmark, the German currency, and was a sort of precursor for the euro. Now, thank God we didn't join the euro, and I think Lord Lawson would be the first person to actually say that, because the exchange rate mechanism, or the ERM, in the end, turned from a European dream of competition across the continent into a bit of a bureaucratic nightmare with technocrats like Ursula von der Leyen becoming the authors of a script of which Lord Lawson no longer wanted Britain to be a part of. I wholeheartedly shared that view with him. But this is a titan of a man because he helped define Thatcherism. He was the thinking brains, really, behind much of the economics of what came to be known as Thatcherism. That 1988 budget, famous as it is, because he slashed the top rate of income tax from 60% to 40% in one clean swoop. And that was seismic. That had such a massive impact. Britain was booming. And it wasn't until Gordon Brown, remember him? Certainly not a man who, when he dies, will be remembered quite as sort of seismic as Lord Lawson indeed is. Because Gordon Brown turned around and said, right, we're going to put 45p rate of top rate of tax just to try and clobber the Tories over this. And it hasn't raised much revenue. The 40p rate remained the highest marginal tax rate until Gordon Brown because it was so successful. Gordon Brown was a sort of parliamentary pygmy compared to someone like Nigel Lawson. And I have to say, folks, I was totally struck by the way in which Lord Lawson and his ilk, the political set that really ran Britain in the 1980s, we certainly don't have any politicians of that caliber anymore. I mean, Rishi Sunak, when he was Chancellor, had a portrait of Nigel Lawson hanging behind him at his desk. I don't think you can argue that either Jeremy Hunt or Rishi Sunak are quite as bold, brave, and resolute as Nigel Lawson was. It really is incredibly difficult to put into words just how influential he actually was in turning around the ship that is Britain, because we were a basket case. The post-war consensus meant that we had accepted decline in Britain. We were a declining economy, suddenly going to 5% growth. We would beg for 5% growth right now, but that was the kind of economic revolution that Nigel Lawson, alongside Margaret Thatcher, actually introduced in Britain. It was a real boom for Britain, and we were all made the richer for it. It was a lesson to the world, a beacon of hope and freedom throughout not just Europe, but throughout the globe. So I feel sad that he's gone because of the fact that I don't think there's any other politician really with his bravery, more obsessed with opinion polls and things like that than the Thatcher set ever were. But politicians could have turned around in the 1980s and said, well, there's nothing we can do. Britain is in decline. We've got to manage this decline. The post-war consensus must be accepted. Socialism is king. Long live socialism. But Nigel Lawson refused to actually accept that consensus. He refused to actually lay down and accept Britain in decline. As Margaret Thatcher said, I can't bear Britain in decline. And I don't think we should either, folks. So I'm not going to roll over and accept defeat. I think we're going through pretty rocky times at the moment. But I think eventually, the British people are resilient. The British people are hardworking. The British people just want to keep more of their own money and get on with their lives. And I think eventually, Lord Lawson and what he advocated and fought for will be back again because it really was in tune with what the British people think, believe, and value. So God rest you. May he rest in peace and rise in glory. Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.